Welcome to this online class on the calendar as part of the mitzvah of Taharas Mishpacha. I decided to offer this class because of the decline in popularity of studying these laws due to the availability of the online calculator. The same women who initiated producing the online calculator themselves recommend keeping a physical copy of the calendar. While these online calculators may be efficient for busy people, regulating one's intimate life to them seems to me to be going through life on a GPS. The knowledge of how the calendar works has become increasingly extinct. By allowing me to share with you, you will gain the understanding of the structure and how the calendar works. Practically, when Shabbos or Yontiv prohibit the use of technology, if you need to make a calculation, you will be able to if you have a physical copy. When you have a shaila, you will know when and how to ask one. And your calendar will be kept with understanding, knowledge, and simcha. When teaching my kallas, I encourage the husbands to be involved in keeping the calendar, because that is really all they can do, except for the harchakas. The support that he gives his wife by taking an interest in the calendar serves to unite the couple through keeping this mitzvah. The Ramban writes, "Tzrichos b'nos Yisrael lizaher b'chushei vestos v'dinehem, ve'ein lecha davar shetzarich Talmud b'dinei ziva bizman hazeh kecheshosh havestos." Women must be careful in the nature of their cycles and the relevant laws. In today's times, this is the most important area of study. The Shla adds, Anochi mitzaveh eschem umazhir eschem shetiyu bekiyim be'elu hadinim lilmod ulalamed lishmor velasos ulakayim. The Shla commands people to be fluent in these laws, to learn, to teach, and to practice. I start this shir with an outline of the relevant halachas of the calendar as they apply to the halachas of Taharas Mishpacha. This shir does not replace a full series of color classes with a teacher. I would like to begin this shir with a couple of preview notes. I tried to mention the status of a din, chumrah, or minhag when applicable. I teach new terms at the time when they are practiced and do not define terms in the overview that you will see in the next slide. If you have any questions regarding any details of this presentation or how these laws may apply in your individual case, please address them to a Rav who is proficient in these laws. I heard a beautiful medrash from Sarah Dubov in England on Megillas Rus. It says in the Megillah, when Nomi and Rus are discussing whether or not Rus should become a Geyaris, should come and be included in the Jewish people or not, Nomi had the responsibility to dissuade Rus from becoming Jewish. Here is the conversation that they had. Nomi said to Rus, Asur lanu latzeis chutz litchum Shabbos. And Rus answered, Ba'asher telchi elech. Nomi said to Rus, Asur lanu lehisyached nekeva im zachar she'ena isha. And Rus answered, Ba'asher talini alin. Nomi said, Asur lanu avodas kochavim. And Rus answered, Elokayach Elokai. And the list continues. Nomi told Rus that Jewish people are not allowed on Shabbos to go outside of 2,000 amos past an inhabited land. Rus answered, where you go, I'll go. The next instruction Nomi gave her, the next warning Nomi gave her, was it's forbidden for men and women who are not married to be in a yichud environment together. And Rus answered, where you will sleep, I will sleep. Now, if I were to hold a conversation with you about Shabbos, and I would say, on Shabbos, you're not allowed to move a pencil, you would answer me, okay, I won't. But when Rus answered Nomi, she answered her in the positive. The way you will do it, I'll do it. That kind of phraseology sounds a little bit strange. Most of us don't talk like that. Rus's message is that from whatever was prohibited to her, she saw the beauty in her life that was resulting from that restriction. She didn't see the restriction on her life of not walking past Tchum Shabbos as an imposition on her life. She saw that her life was going to be more refined and more beautiful and more special because of those things that she was not going to be doing. Let's apply that lesson to keeping this mitzvah, as well as many, many other areas in our lives. In the life of a married Jewish woman, there are two parts to her month. The first part of the month is the time when a woman is tahor. She is physically permissible to her husband until the time when she gets her period, at which time she becomes a nida. The second part of the month is when a woman becomes a nida, and she remains in that status until she immerses herself in a kosher mikveh. From the time a woman becomes a nida, she must pass through 5 compulsory stages. The first one is she must count 5 days. From the onset of her period, she needs to count 5 days before she can move on to the second step. The next stage is making a hefsek tahara. At the end of the 5th day, or whenever bleeding has stopped, she must make a hefsek tahara. This hefsek tahara is made up of 2 stages. The first one is a bedika, an internal examination, and the second part is a moch dachuk, which is a bedika cloth inserted vaginally and remains there the entire bein hashmashes. Once she has performed a successful hefsek tahara, the next 7 days are called Shivas Nikiyim, or 7 spotless days. At the end of the 7th day, a woman must perform a chafifa, a thorough cleansing in preparation for her tefillah in a kosher mikveh. Her tefillah must be performed after nightfall at the end of the 7th day. When a woman becomes a nida, she must mark on her personal calendar 4 details. In total, she will have 5 details written down. The first 4 she writes when she becomes a nida, and the 5th she will write down when she actually makes her hefsek tahara. She needs to mark down the Hebrew day of the month, the day of the week, the oina which in her period fell, whether it's day or night, and the clock time when her period arrived. Again, once she makes her hefsek tahara, she will mark that on her calendar as well. Within each day, there are 2 oinas, the night oina and a day oina. There are 2 pieces to a day on the Jewish calendar. The night oina goes from shkias hachama, sunset, to neitz hachama the next morning, which is sunrise. The day oina goes from neitz hachama, sunrise, to shkia that afternoon till sunset. There are 3 times when the knowledge of neitz hachama is important for a woman in relation to her calendar keeping. Because neitz is something that we previously have not had to reckon with, I like to take time in explaining the importance and explaining it in detail. The first time is establishing the oina of day 1. Without knowing when neitz hachama is, a woman isn't sure, is it the night oina or is it the day oina? The second time it's important or relevant to us is when making the bedikas, when making morning bedikas during Shivas Nikiyim, during the 7 spotless days. And the third time is for making the correct calculations during the separation dates, which we will get to in a few minutes. Once again, the night oina is from shkia, from sunset, to neitz, sunrise in the morning. And the day oina is from neitz hachama, from sunrise until shkia that afternoon, sunset. How to establish what is day 1. We learned that shkias hachama, sunset, is the divider between one day and the next day. Here are some examples of, depending when a woman gets her period, which day would be day 1. If, for example, she saw on Wednesday afternoon, which is Yud Tes of the month, and shkia that day was 4:32, if she saw any time before 4:32, then Yud Tes would be her day 1. But if she saw on Wednesday night after shkia, or any time Thursday before shkia on Thursday, then Chaf is her first day. But if she saw after Shkia on Thursday, then Chaf Aleph would be her day 1. From this we learn that day 1 of the 5 days need not be a full day. This is the only case in all of these halachas where a day can be a part day. In every other case, a day must be a full day, from Shkia to Shkia. If a woman found that her period came between sunset and nightfall, she should note the time of her re'iyah and ask a shaila based on zmanim. In summary, when a woman gets her period, she is required to mark down on her personal calendar the 4 details that we mentioned earlier. By putting the correct annotation on the right square on her calendar of a graphic calendar, she has fulfilled all of her obligations. On the calendar that you see beside me, you will see where day 1 is, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the screen. Those are her 5 required basic days before she can make Hefsek Tara. Whether she can make it at the end of day 5 or any subsequent day, at the point when she does, she will mark her Hefsek Tara on her calendar. From here we have the fundamental structure of the calendar, and we will move on to the calculations of separation times for the following month. We're now going to learn about the din of Prisha Samuch Levesta, the din of a woman anticipating her next menstrual cycle. It says in Chumash Vayikra, V'hizhartem b'nei Yisrael mitumaisam. In the Gemara, it says, Amar Rav Yoshiyahu, Mikan azhara livnei Yisrael, sheyifreshu min shasehen samuch levestan. It is a halacha in the Torah that couples separate at the times when the halacha requires in anticipation of her next cycle. This calculation is required after a period, or if a woman became a nida as the result of a bedika, a stain, on a bedika cloth during her tahor days. There are times when one must include the date from a stain during Shivas Nakim on her calendar, but that is in the geder of a shaila to a rav. It's not something that we decide on by ourselves. If a woman saw a stain on her underwear during her tahor days that rendered her in nida, she is not required to consider that date on her calendar. The birth of a child or chas v'shalom a miscarriage are also not dates that are considered for her calendar. If a woman finds that she stains any length of time before she actually gets her period, she must ask the Rav which date she should start her calculations from and mark on her calendar. Since this is an area where traditionally husbands have been most involved in, I always encourage, even when a woman can do the calculations herself, that she involve her husband and they check the calculations and the dates together. Since a woman is much more in sync with her body, it's prudent of her to let her husband know a couple of days in advance that these Prisha days are approaching. Conduct between the couple when these separation dates arrive. So the basic halachas that a couple need to keep are like this. A couple may not sleep in the same bed as marital relations are forbidden. They should also refrain from chibuk v'nishuk unagia mishum chiba, which is hugging and kissing and affectionate touches. The harchakas do not apply during these Prisha days, and a couple gets a mitzvah every time they refrain from any of those activities that are forbidden. There are 2 categories that one cycle can fit into. A woman can either be irregular or eino kavua, or she can be regular or kavua. The definition of an irregular cycle is a woman who has not yet established regularity is considered to be irregular, an eino kavua. She must suspect that her period can come on any of 3 dates. A couple must keep all of these 3 dates until or if she establishes a regularity. The first of these 3 dates is called the Oina Beinonis. The Oina Beinonis is the average time that at the time when Chazal were establishing these halachas, was the average time of a woman's cycle. And yes, people have changed, their bodies have changed over the years, but these halachas, as they were enacted, are retained till today. The Oina Beinanis, this average day, is the 30th day from day one of her cycle. This is why I spent extra time in the beginning of this shir to establish what is day one. So in calculating when the Oina Beinanis is, this average day, you put your finger on day one and you count till number 30. When you get to the 30th day, that is the Oina Beinanis. I will show you a couple of examples of how this is calculated. For example, if a woman got her period on the day Oina of Aleph of a month, then the 30th day, using the sophisticated mathematics that I showed you before, her Oina Beinanis is going to be on Lamed of that month. The Oina Beinanis is a full Me'es La'es, which means that it's a full calendar day, starting in the evening and going to the following afternoon, starting from Shkia on the day they were required to begin their separation, through the full day to Shkia of the following day. As you'll see in example 2 of the person that got her period on the night Oina, the Oina Beinanis is still the same calendar day. We do not split days from a day to a night. It's always the night preceding the day. And again, it does not matter if this woman got her period in the day Oina or if she got it in the night Oina. When the 30th day arrives, that is their Oina Beinanis. This separation lasts for a full day, again a full calendar day. It does not matter if she got her period in the day Oina or the night Oina. In both cases, they separate for that one calendar day. On the Oina Beinanis, she has certain obligations. What are they? First of all, she must make a bedika before sunset towards the end of the day of their separation, and it is a chumrah to make another one after nightfall. She will wear white underwear that whole day, and she should not be taking a bath, only a shower. If she takes a bath before she's made a bedika, then she should ask the Rav what to do. If she is clean after the day has passed and she made her bedika, the couple can resume normal relations. But in this case, the husband and the wife do need to communicate with each other that the wife has in fact made her bedika. If she forgot to make her bedika, then relations are not permitted until she does so, even if it's several days later. The second date that a couple must suspect is the Yom HaChodesh, is the day of the month, which is the same day of the month that her period came on in the previous month. The subsequent month, they need to separate on the same date. In this case, the Yom HaChodesh is only the Oina in which the prior period came on. So if a woman got her period on Aleph Tishrei in the daytime, then they'll separate on Aleph Cheshvan also in the daytime. This separation is for only one Oina, and it's the Oina in which her period came in the original date, as you can see in the examples on the screen. This separation only lasts one Oina. A woman on that Oina must make a bedika after the time of day that she recorded when her previous period came. So you'll remember that we marked down in our calendar that this woman, this example person, got her period at 12 o'clock noon. Any time between 12 o'clock and Shkia on her Yom HaChodesh, she will be making her bedika. The couple needs to stay separated until Shkia has arrived, but she can make her bedika any time past that time of day. She will also not be taking a bath during that Oina until she has made her bedika. After the bedika, it's fine. If a woman got her period at night, say 10:15 in the evening, she can make this her nighttime bedika anytime after 10:15 at night. If she is clean, relations are permitted after the oina has passed. But even if she forgot to make her bedika once the oina has passed, a couple is permitted to resume relations. The third calculation is the haflaga. This, in Chabad circles, is calculated differently than many other Orthodox groups. And this is how I will be explaining it. The haflaga is defined as the interval of clean oinus between the hefsek tara and the next period. Obviously, for an interval, you need a beginning and an end. If the Yom HaChodesh falls out on the Lamed of a month that does not have a Lamed Yom, as 30 days on a Jewish month is an alternating existence on the Jewish calendar, so if a woman got her period on the Lamed, the 30th day of a month, the next month will not have a Lamed Yom. If that is the case for her, according to Chabad Poskim, she will not have a Yom HaChodesh that month. We count the oinas starting from the first clean oina after Hefsek Tara and include the last clean oina before her next period began. When calculating the haflaga, you take the number of those clean oinas that you counted, and then after the next Hefsek Tara, you count that same number of oinas and separate on the next one. In the current example, we see that this woman got her period on Yud Zayin in the daytime. She was able to make Hefsek Tara on Chaf Beis, and she got her next period on Yud Tes in the daytime of the following month. Based on this information, we can calculate how big is her haflaga. When you count from the first oina after Hefsek Tara, including the last oina before her next period, we see that she has a haflaga of 53 oinas. Continuing with this example, if she was able to make Hefsek Tara, say on Chaf Daled of that month, from that point the couple is able to predict when is her next haflaga, when to suspect her next period coming based on the interval of her cycles. Starting from the oina after her Hefsek Tara, they will count 53 oinas, presuming they are all clean, and then the next oina becomes their haflaga. This separation lasts for one oina. She will make a bedika after the time of day that she got her last period and will not take a bath until after that bedika. Based on the previous example, I would like to provide you with a summary of what a full calendar for this 1 month will look like for this couple. This woman got her period on Yud Zayin. She was able to make Hefsek Tara on Chaf Beis, and she got her next period on Yud Tes of the following month in the daytime. From this information, we can establish that her haflaga is 53 oinas. And we know since she is a woman who is an Eino Kavua, she's irregular, she has to suspect 3 dates. 1, her Oina Beinanis. Let's start from the date of Yud Tes. Her Oina Beinanis is going to be Yud Tes of the following month. Her Yom HaChodesh is going to be Yud Tes in the daytime. And yes, in this case they overlap, and they can overlap. Since she made Hefsek Tara on Chaf Daled, and they are keeping a 53 oina haflaga, from the oina after Hefsek Tara, they will count 53 oinas, and the next oina will become their haflaga, as you can see on the screen. Me'ikar Hadin, we calculate each month based on the reality of the previous month. Therefore, what happens when a woman gets her period in Tishrei, that defines when the couple will separate in Cheshvan. The Shita of the Alter Rebbe is slightly different. The Alter Rebbe holds if a subsequent period comes earlier than a previous one, the couple is going to keep both haflagas based on the earlier period and the later period. Why is this? Because a haflaga can only be uprooted, according to the Alter Rebbe, if that date has been passed over and she is still clean. In the example you see on the screen beside me, this woman got her period on Daled, and she made her Hefsek Taira on Tes of that month. Her next period came Hey in the nighttime. Therefore, if you count the number of clean oinus between the Hefsek Taira and her next cycle, she has 50 clean oinus. Since we know that her haflaga is 50 oinus long, we're going to start from the oina after her Hefsek Taira and count 50 oinus. That 50 oinus will take us to Gimel in the daytime. The next oina after that is Zion at night, and that is their haflaga. Good. That is what they're predicting is going to be their calendar. But sometimes things don't happen exactly as we predict them. But reality had it that she got her period Daled in the daytime. For her to predict into the next month, she needs to know what is the reality of her haflaga. We know that we anticipated based on 50 oinus, but she didn't get there to the 50 oinus. If we start from the first oina after her last Hefsek Taira until the last clean oina before she got her next period, we see that there were in fact only 43 oinus. Calculating for the next month, this couple needs to suspect and calculate for both 43 and 50 oinus. So if she makes Hefsek Taira, for example, on Hay, from the first oina after Hay, she is going to count 43 oinas, and the next oina will be one haflaga, and she will also count 50 oinas from that very same oina, and the next one afterwards will be their second haflaga. So what do we do with the Yom HaChodesh when a subsequent period is earlier than a previous one? The haflaga, we know what to do. The Yom HaChodesh is a little bit different. This is discussed by the Ohel Yosef, who is a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek. If the Yom HaChodesh is a hemshech re'iyah of the new date, or if it comes on a clean oina, the previous Yom HaChodesh is ne'akar, or it's wiped away. If a woman got her period on Beis Shvat, and then again on Chaf Tes Shvat, the base of the Chodesh would be wiped away, or ne'akar, because by the time the base Adar came along, it would be a hemshech re'iyah of the period that she got at the end of Shvat. If the Yom HaChodesh is passed over clean, it is also ne'akar. It is wiped off of her calendar. It's a halach in Shulchan Aruch that if a new re'iyah is a tchilas re'iyah, the beginning a new re'iyah, and not as a continuation of a previous one, then both dates must be considered and must be calculated into this woman's calendar. For example, if she saw both on Aleph Shvat and Tes Vav Shvat, both of them are new re'iyahs. The Aleph would be considered as a Yom HaChodesh, and she would also have to consider Tes Vav as a Yom HaChodesh. We've now concluded the halachas of the requirements of a woman who is an Eino Kavua. Her cycle is not regular, but there are ways of making it regular, of establishing regularity, of her becoming a Kavua. And that is what we're going to be discussing in the next few minutes. A woman can establish regularity if her period comes 3 times in exactly the same way halachically as we will see in the following examples. In that case, they only have to separate on the kvias and not on any of the other dates that we have discussed before. Either a woman is an Eino Kavua or she is a Kavua. Some examples. A woman can have a Veses HaChodesh, which means that her period will come Aleph Tishrei, Aleph Cheshvan, and Aleph Kislev. In that case, they all have to come in the same oina. It has to be the same date and the same oina within that day. So it has to be Aleph Tishrei in the daytime, Aleph Cheshvan in the daytime, and Aleph Kislev in the daytime. In that case, she has established a kvias that she should get her period on the Aleph in the daytime of every subsequent month. If she has calculated her haflaga to be, for example, 50 oinas, if she gets her period at the end of 50 oinas 3 times, then her kvias is based on her seeing her period at a haflaga at an interval of 50 oinas. As you will see in the example, this person got her period on Aleph Tishrei, Aleph Cheshvan, and Aleph Kislev. And then her kvias is Aleph Teves. The kvias is only the oina that she gets her period in that the kvias has established. The halachas for this woman who has a kvias are similar to the date of the oina beinani. She should not take a bath for that oina, and she should be wearing white underwear also during that oina. If her kvias is in the day oina, then she makes her bedika before shkia of that oina, and it's a hitter to make one again after nightfall. If her kvias is in the night oina, she should make her bedika before she goes to sleep if she got her period in the earlier part of the evening. If it was early in the morning, then she can make her bedika after she gets up, even if it's after Netzach Hama. At the end of the oina, if the woman is still clean, then the couple can resume normal relations. But she has to have made that bedika. A couple, a husband and a wife, should communicate with each other that the wife has in fact made her bedika. In the case where the woman forgot to make the bedika, she must do so before they can resume relations, even if it's several days later. So in this case of a woman who has a kvias, the chances are that it's not going to last forever. As pleasant as it is, only have to consider one date, it may not last forever. The fact that a woman at some point in her life may have a kvias, that is in itself is something unusual in our days. So we need to address the case where a woman has a kvias, but 1 month comes along and she does not get her period on the date of her kvias. What is she supposed to do for the next month? And in this case, I will tell you what she needs to understand, and if it ever happens to you or ever gets more complicated, please address the issue to a Rav. The story is like this. Let's say a woman has her kvias. Again, we'll make it easy for Aleph of the Chodesh. Aleph, Aleph, Aleph. And so she has to write on her calendar, as soon as a woman establishes a kvias, which takes 3 times to establish, she automatically has to write on her calendar Aleph, Aleph, Aleph of the next 3 months. It takes 3 months to establish a kvias, and it will take 3 months to break it. But in the process of a kvias being broken, she will get a period on different days. What do they do to run their calendar? So let's say she got her period on Aleph Tishrei, Aleph Cheshvan, Aleph Kislev, Aleph Teves. Shvat, it came on Gimel. Also in the daytime. We'll make it a little bit easy. For Adar, the couple has to consider the kvias, because it is on her calendar and it must be for 3 months. But they also have to consider the Yom HaChodesh and the haflaga based on that change from Aleph to Gimel. You may ask, what happens to the Oina Beinanis? And the answer to that is that you cannot have a Kvias and an Oina Beinanis on the calendar at the same time. So until 3 months have passed where this woman has not gotten her period on the day of her Kvias, this couple is a little bit in limbo. It's half an Eino Kavua, or 2/3 an Eino Kavua, and the day of her Kvias. So they're suspecting the day of the Kvias, her Yom HaChodesh, and the Haflaga. Once 3 months has passed and the wife did not get her period on the day of her Kvias, then the Kvias date is uprooted and she goes back to being an Eino Kavua. And then she's suspecting her Oina Beinanis, her Yom HaChodesh, and her Haflaga. But one very important detail, and that is that a Kvius remains in memory forever. That means you can have children, other things can happen in your life, but that Kvius is always there in memory, which means that if you see the Kvius date even once, the Kvius comes back after one Re'iyah on that date. If the couple gets that far, I suggest that you again ask the Rav to review your calendar and to give you further instructions. But the necessity, and I emphasize this, keep your Kvias if you have a paper calendar, obviously you do, whatever kind of a book you keep of your calendar, please make sure you transfer the date of the Kvias from book to book as they finish, because it's possible that we will forget when that Kvias is, and that when we transfer it from book to book, we will remember if that date of the Kvias returns even once, then she becomes a Kavua once again. And since there are several patterns and several ways that a Kvias can be established, anytime you see a pattern or suspect that a pattern is forming, please ask the Rav. There are many, many, many kinds and ways and patterns of these 3 periods establishing. After childbirth, a woman cannot establish a Kvias or a regularity during the first 24 months, Chaf Dalet Chodesh. If she does get her period during that time, she must resume keeping a calendar, but she cannot establish a Kvias. This is because she is called a Meinekes. Even if she never nursed or nursed and stopped nursing within that time, the halacha still calls her a Meinekes during those first 24 months. If you think you could establish a Kvias or you see a pattern forming, please ask the Rav for his advice and his guidance in this matter. The Rav asked me to mention this at the end of the shir. If a woman is totally nursing her baby and it comes Tisha B'Av or Yom Kippur, she should ask a shaila regarding fasting. If the child is totally reliant on her, then the Rav should be the one to paskin and guide her as how to handle these 2 dates. In our family, we tell a very interesting story. There were once 2 men, each climbing a different mountain, and they looked very different trudging up the 2 mountains that they were trying to scale. The local radio station sent an interviewer to see the difference between the 2 men and why their approaches to scaling these mountains were so different from each other. So the interviewer came to the first man, who was sweating and panting and breathing difficult under the load that he was carrying, and he said, "Sir, how come it's so hard for you to climb this mountain?" So he says, "I have to get a long way to the top, but in my bag are rocks. They want me to get these rocks to the top of the mountain, and I don't know how I'm going to make it." So the interviewer thanks the man for his comments, and he goes to the other mountain. And he sees the other gentleman very light-footed as he climbs his mountain. And he asks him, "Gentlemen, sir, why are you so different from your friend who is climbing so laboriously up the mountain. So he says, well, I don't know what he's carrying, but I'm carrying diamonds. I hope as a result of the shir I just gave, you will feel with every halacha and every din that you keep in the halachas of Taharas Mishpacha that we discussed, that you are carrying a bag of diamonds. This presentation has been reviewed by Rav Menachem Mendel Glukowski of Rehovot, who sits on the Beis Din Chabad of Eretz Yisrael, and Rabbi Avraham Ozdaba and Rabbi Yaakov Ozdaba of the Crown Heights Beis Din. I am grateful for the time they gave to review all of the sources and clarify details to ensure the precision of this presentation. Rabbi Glukowski has been available over the years to answer my numerous questions while teaching my colors. It is a schus to be able to present these halachas to the public, and I thank them for their support in this project.